Hey guys, Drifter here. Welcome to Warzone In Depth. In today's episode, I want to talk about the best PPSH loadout, and I want to talk about the recent PPSH buff, because the PPSH is actually kind of good now after getting a very small buff. Well, this particular time. It's got a couple of little buffs. It got a little extra range. We reduced the open bolt firing delay, and they're just doing small buff after small buff after small buff, and it seems that Raven is committed to making the PPSH a meta weapon. What they did this time around is they gave it +1 additional damage on every area, so now it'll deal 36 damage to the head, 28 for the chest, and 25 for the limbs, and this scales at ranges as well. And while receiving 1 additional point of damage probably doesn't seem like that impressive of a buff, the way it works out is that the PPSH now kills in 1 less shot for every single body region and in most ranges, except for perhaps extreme range combat. It's not going to make that big of a difference. And what this is just a straight up boost to time to kill. The PPSH, if you ranked all of the guns on time to kill, was maybe middle of the pack, maybe a little bit slower than middle of the pack, but now it's easily a top 5 in terms of time to kill when it comes to popular meta weapons. I'm going to go ahead and put a little chart on the screen here showing all of the popular submachine guns and their time to kills, comparing them to the PPSH. You'll see the Fennec is the fastest at 486 milliseconds. The Cold War and Modern Warfare MP5s are basically tied at 525 milliseconds, and the PPSH is just barely slower at 529, which I assure you 4 milliseconds is way less than a frame. I think it's like a quarter of a frame roughly, and you won't notice the difference between the PPSH and the MP5. The MAC-10 is only a little slower than that, and the Bullfrog is only a little slower than that. These are the most popular submachine guns ranked by time to kill, and you'll see that the PPSH would be 4th on this list, but to be honest, not that many people really use the Cold War MP5, and probably even less people use the Fennec. The Fennec is a really acquired taste. I kind of enjoy it, but it's not a perfect weapon. If you were to look at popular meta weapons, the PPSH would probably be the middle of the pack compared to the MP5 and to the Bullfrog. The MAC-10 is a little bit less popular these days, so it's in very good company up there at the very top of the time to kill charts. And what that means is, well, now we have a way to make the weapon meta and usable, because it's got a lot of additional benefits as well. Most noticeably, the PPSH has less of a damage decrease and longer damage ranges than other meta submachine guns. So a lot of the submachine guns in Warzone will fall off to 20 damage, 19 damage, 18 damage, 17 damage, something like that at long ranges. The PPSH, if I'm remembering correctly, only falls off to 24, so your long range damage is significantly better, but the actual range at which that decrease happens is significantly longer than other meta submachine guns. Even before the buff, the PPSH is one of the best performing long-range SMGs, and now with the faster time to kill, it's definitely going to be the best long-range performing SMG. And this is, of course, without comparing any of the goofier weapons. I know the Striker 45 has like HP rounds, and I think the Fennec has some, and the AUG has some goofy ammo conversions, and there's the Uzi 41 AE and whatever, and some very unusual ammo conversions that'll like turn some of these weapons into burst fire that have great performance attributes with other horrible downsides, but people don't use them because they're difficult. The magazine size will be like 12, they're not full auto. This is going to be one of the best performing full auto submachine guns in the game, and that's kind of what you want out of your SMGs. It's also going to outperform all meta submachine guns after about 20 meters or so. Outside of that actual like initial close and maybe close medium range engagement, the PPSH is just going to dominate pretty much everything. Having huge magazine attachments are a nice bonus on this weapon. The base magazine is 32, which is pretty normal for SMGs, but nothing super impressive. There's a 55 round drum mag, a 71 round drum mag, there's a 40 round fast mag, 50 round fast mag, so you can bump the magazine attachments up pretty hefty like, and that's one of the things that we don't know very much about in Warzone. All of the attachments on this weapon appear to function analogous to other Cold War weapons like the Cold War MP5 and the MAC-10 and stuff, but we don't really know how the magazine attachments function, so I decided to go and test all of them, and this is the summary, which is very simple. The 55 round drum mag, which is the first one you unlock, has the exact same aim down sights time as regular, and reloads only 1 frame slower, so you almost double your ammo capacity, and the only downside is about 1 frame slower on the reload, which you won't notice. The 71 round drum mag has 2 frames slower on ADS, which isn't terrible, but I do think that some of you are going to notice that, and it reloads 1 frame slower, so there's a lot of benefits to running this one as well. 2 frames slower ADS, you'll probably feel very slightly the more experienced players among you, but you do get a gigantic magazine. The 50-round speed mag I thought was going to be really nice, but it has the same 2 frames slower ADS as the 71 round, and it only reloads 1 frame faster, which if I'm reloading guns, it's probably not going to make that big of a difference. So in my opinion, the basic 55 round drum mag is probably the best overall. It's almost entirely a pure bonus attachment, but the 71 round drum mag isn't bad either. If you just want a big gigantic magazine to spray people down, those are the ones that I'm going to gravitate toward, and those are going to be the ones that I recommend in today's class setup. The first loadout that I want to recommend today is the sort of jack of all trades versatile PPSH. The hybrid assault rifle replacement pairs well with the Kar 98 good fallback weapon PPSH. I'm going to run the GRU suppressor on this one because it gives range, bullet velocity, a little bit of recoil control, and only hurts the ADS. Task Force Barrel basically does the same thing, maybe a minor recoil penalty, but we'll fix all of that with the Spetsnaz grip. As you can see, it even looks like a rifle. We're going to go with the basic 55 round drum here so that our ADS isn't too terrible. And I'm going to put the Microflex LED on it because I kind of struggle with the iron sights. I don't see my targets very clearly, and that'll help me with medium and long range target acquisition. You want to run this one kind of the way a lot of people are running the LC10 right now. It's going to be excellent at medium to long ranges. It's not going to be bad up close, just so long as you have time to ADS and set up your shots a little bit. It is a very versatile, very good fallback weapon that I think could be very meta, and it's an excellent weapon to run in conjunction with whatever sniper rifle you guys are addicted to this week. However, the PPSH that I'm really interested in, the one that I have the most fun with, is the up-in-your-face PPSH. I'm still going to be running the GRU suppressor on it because that's kind of the best thing in the world for basically every gun in Warzone. We're not going to be running any barrels because range isn't going to matter. Instead, we're going to run the Bruiser grip for tighter hipfire and a little bit of bonus to movement speed with no downside, which is just lovely. We are also going to run the green laser sight, the GRU 5mW laser. It's going to tighten up that hipfire tremendously. The 71 round drum mag, because we're not going to be ADSing a whole lot, it won't matter. And then the marathon stock for faster sprint out time with no penalties to hipfire or anything else. There are other things that'll boost your sprint out time lower or give you other attributes, but they always hurt your hipfire. This is a little pocket shotgun. This is a you need to get out of my face weapon, and it's awesome, and it's got a gigantic 71 round mag. It'll outperform the Bulldog or Bullfrog in most situations, and I think it's a really good gun to use. Another important thing to note is that after this update, the PPSH ground loot pickups are now way better and way more effective. They're way more worth your time. So it might be more okay to get the regular loadout drop and get Ghost and not a secondary weapon, and instead just take one of those ground loot PPSHs with you. That's usually what I do anyway. People on my team are addicted to overkill, but I usually just stick with the ground loot PPSH, especially now that it's a really good gun. And as for whether or not this is going to become meta or the best gun in the game, that's really going to depend on if people get used to the recoil. We've talked a lot about the benefits of this weapon, and truly the biggest downside of it is that the recoil really sucks. It kicks a lot. It's not a laser. It's not the easiest thing to use like the LC10, but as long as people get used to that, kind of the same way they got used to the recoil on the AMAX, it should be fine and it should see a lot of use. Guys, that is all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned something useful. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.